Today, Karin Kohler of MeLuna USA joins me to talk all things menstrual cups. Karin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Would you start off by sharing how you started MeLuna USA?
Actually, I started with menstrual pads. I
Okay.
had a career in other fields. I was in the medical field for quite a few years. And then I went back to school to get a degree, and I worked for a large construction firm, actually, for a long time as a um, project person.
Okay.
And then I had children. And so going from really fast-paced environments to staying at home with babies was a little bit of an adjustment. And so I started a tiny little cloth pad store on Etsy.
Oh,
It was about 16 years ago. I had a really bad experience with disposable menstrual products right after my birth. And I noticed that I was sensitive to those products. So then I discovered cloth pads, and it really was made such a big difference to me. Um, and that became my little new baby then, my focus. And it was such a great experience to start my own business after having worked for other people pretty much all my life. Um, and that went really well. It grew. People loved the design. They were called domino pads. They're still around. And it made me really passionate about reusable menstrual products. And that's kind of my start with that. I'm originally from Germany, and the manufacturer of MeLuna is also from Germany. So it was a fantastic match. I loved that they had a different approach. At that time, really everything was kind of based on that 2 cup model of either get size 1 if you haven't had babies, or get size 2 if you've had babies. And people are different, bodies are different. And I really love that MeLuna had solutions for the people that didn't fit into those size 1 or size 2 options. So we hit it off right away. I love the people in Germany that are making these cups. It's a super tiny company, and I love working with them. And I think they're making a great product. So I helped them get the FDA clearance, which was a much bigger deal than we thought it would be. It was a 1-year process. Um, but I've learned so much by being involved in that. And it really changed my perspective on the whole industry in a way. Um, and it's been an exciting ride. I'm happy to be part of this.
that is definitely one of the things that I love about MeLuna is the fact that they offer so many different sizes. The other thing that I love about it is the material of construction. To start off, could we just talk maybe about those different sizes and about why that matters?
Mhm. So a lot of times after people experience pregnancy and give birth, their body changes significantly. And it's mostly that group that can need a low cervix cup. That means the cervix is now positioned lower. And with that, the vaginal canal is shorter. So it may not comfortably accommodate a cup that is standard length.
Okay.
So we have 2 height ranges. One is the standard cups, and then one is the shorty, which is for people with low cervix. We also have 3 different handle styles. Some of them are super tiny, some of them are longer. So there's really a lot of customization options with the MeLuna. We have 4 different diameters: small, medium, large, and XL. And in retrospect, I super duper wish they would have chosen a different way to designate those 4 diameters. Even if we would have just given the diameter in millimeter, I think it would have uh, made people less hesitant to buy an XL. There's nothing super humongous about the XL, but I think the name XL makes people kind of think like, oh, I don't want that. I definitely don't need that.
Yeah.
And really the XL is very comparable and often just like 1 millimeter more than the size 2 in a lot of other brands. So I think that's the only part I don't like. I wish I could change it, but now it's already so known in this, it's kind of too late to do that. Inadequate diameter is our number one cause of leaking.
Okay.
So I don't want to have a roadblock to people purchasing the cup that will give them the best results just because it has a name that is kind of scary.
So speaking of that, so this kind of ties into sizing just a little bit. How, and yes, recognizing that MeLuna definitely has some size guides on the website. What is the best way to figure out what size menstrual cup you need?
Yes. So what we run into a lot is people considering their own size, and it often doesn't correlate at all to what size cup you need. Just because somebody
Yeah.
is not very tall doesn't mean you can wear a very small cup. Like we talked about before, birth and pregnancy really affects your body. So I think it should be considered as part of that. And it's also part of our guidelines, just because it really does change your body and has an effect on it. And so that would definitely be a consideration. Flow is also a consideration, but really, if your body can only accommodate a certain size, and that includes the shorties, you may have to make peace with the thought that if you're wearing a shorty, it's a smaller volume cup. That's just how math works, volume,
Yeah.
dimensions affect volume. So if you have a shorter cup, it will hold less volume of liquid. So to be comfortable, you may have to plan on emptying that cup more often.
Okay. So once somebody purchases a menstrual cup, you mentioned leakage. What are some other things that might happen if they have an improperly sized cup?
I think if you have a standard cup, for example, and you need a shorty, you will notice really early on because it will just be very uncomfortable. You can feel it at the entrance of your vagina because the cup just doesn't go in your body or stay in your body all the way. So that would be a height problem, and you would, of course, get a different height cup. We do have different firmness levels, and they actually do not really solve size problems. Sometimes in our customer consultations, what I hear is, oh, I have a medium classic and it's leaking, so I'm thinking of getting a sport medium. Generally, that's not a solution to an inadequate diameter. You would just go with a large classic. Where sport comes in with the firmness is if it's leaking because the cup is getting compressed. If you have a lot of core activity and you notice that specifically during that activity, it compresses and leaks, then a sport cup is a great option. I used to be very active in martial arts, including Aikido, which includes a lot of like throwing and being thrown. And so there is some core activity going on for that, especially in the white outfit. I definitely use my sport cup for that. But if it's leaking because the diameter is not wide enough to make a good seal, going with a firmer cup is not going to solve that.
Okay. One question on the flip side of that, what happens if you oversize your cup? So if you select a diameter that's too large for this, maybe one size too large for your ideal size.
So it could cause pressure. And of course, ideally, if you wear a cup, you don't want to feel it. You shouldn't feel it. If you feel it, that's another point. Don't immediately assume it's the wrong size.
Okay.
Sometimes the cup feeling uncomfortable could be too little air in the cup when you insert it, to where there's like almost like a vacuum effect to
Like a
it,
suction. Yeah.
like a suction. So take it out, take a deep breath, try it again, position it differently, because how you insert it and where it sits can really make a big difference with comfort as well. It's not always instantly, oh, it's not feeling good, I just got this cup, it must be the wrong cup or it must be the wrong size. So I would not give up right away and assume you need a different cup or a different size. There is the possibility that it doesn't unfold all the way, but again, that could also depend on what folds you use. Like
Mhm.
a punch down fold, for example, will pop open easier for a lot of people than the regular C fold, things like that.
Okay.
One thing that's a little bit tricky is people are so used to seeing their cups come out round, which is a typical silicone cup
Mhm.
type of thing. They go back to the form that they are manufactured in. And TPE cups, it's short for thermoplastic elastomer. It's actually really meant to conform to its surroundings under the influence of heat. So when you're wearing it, your body temperature will reshape the cup to the shape of your vagina. And the vagina is not a round pipe. It's more the shape of a compressed hose. And so you may pull out a TPE cup, and we're not the only manufacturer of TPE cups. There's other menstrual cups like Hello that are TPE cups as well. And they all have that in common. When the cup comes out, even a very well-fitting TPE cup may come out a little bit oval. That's not the same as it not unfolding, because it's
Okay.
just adjusting to its surroundings, and the surroundings are not round.
Okay.
So it's sometimes difficult for people to know, is it not unfolding, or if it is it actually kind of like a bean shape or an oval shape because it's adjusting to my vagina. So I would base that on, is it leaking or is it not leaking? And if it is leaking, could insufficient diameter be the problem, or is it really not unfolding? Because it not unfolding is fairly rare.
Okay. Yeah, I know I'd had that question too, so I'm glad you addressed it about the fact that it conforms to the shape of your vagina, because I've pulled mine out before and questioned whether or not I have the right size, because it looks almost a little bit like it's starting to take a U shape.
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
yes, exactly. So that does throw people off, especially if they have a history of having silicone cups, where they have a certain expectation of what it should look like. It's sometimes really hard to have customers believe when I explain this, because it almost sounds like I'm just making an excuse, but that's really literally what thermoplastic elastomer means. It conforms to the surroundings under the influence of heat.
Okay. So now that we've started talking about the materials, let's talk about some of the benefits of TPE versus silicone.
I think either one can be a great choice.
Okay.
I am not in the camp of TPE is the best and anything else is not acceptable. There is 3 advantages of TPE over silicone. Number one is, in the US, mostly theoretical, to be honest. Silicone is compounds mixing, and once you mix it, that's it. You cannot melt it, you cannot do anything with it, you can shred it. It's basically not really recyclable. TPE, as it can be melted and made into more TPE, like you could take MeLuna menstrual cups and make them into TPE yoga mats. I say theoretical because in Europe, specifically Germany, household trash is really not single stream recycling thing.
Mm-hmm.
Households in Germany will have multiple different trash cans for different things. So it gets actually sorted out, which increases how recyclable the recyclables actually are.
Yeah.
Here we've looked into recycling it, but because the cups are only 6 grams, by the time a customer were to mail them back to us,
Mm-hmm.
the footprint would actually be bigger than just
Mm-hmm.
disposing of the cup.
Right.
If they had opportunities to locally recycle TPE, that would be great. TPE is recyclable as opposed to silicone, which is not recyclable. However, realistically, there's very few opportunities locally where TPE is being collected and recycled. So the recyclability would be one of the pros. Another small but very rare thing is there is some cases of people being allergic to silicone. There have not been any known cases of people being allergic to TPE so far. So that's a benefit, but there's, it's again very rare. And the third benefit is on the topic of bacteria. And I think
Mm-hmm.
one of your questions was how long to wear a cup. So we'll get to that after this. In 2018, there was a study done in France in regards to tampons and menstrual cups and TSS, toxic shock syndrome. Toxic shock syndrome is caused by a bacteria called Staphylococcus aureus. It's a staph bacteria. It's pretty much everywhere, so you can't avoid it. 80% of people are immune to it right from the get-go. And with good hygiene practices, of course, TSS in menstrual cup is exceedingly rare. But one thing that they found out in that study in France is that for some reason, that staph bacteria clings much more readily to silicone than it does to TPE. Again, that is so rare that it probably won't make a huge difference, but it's proven by studies that staph bacteria clings less to TPE than to silicone. So that would be the third benefit of TPE over silicone. But really, I'm not saying that silicone cups are bad or dangerous. I think it's wonderful that there's so many options and that there's really an opportunity for almost anybody to find a cup that works well for them.
Yeah. I know for me, I just personally prefer TPE over silicone with anything. I don't like silicone utensils in the kitchen. And as far as menstrual cups, I definitely prefer TPE over silicone as well.
Yeah,
So I think personal, yeah, sorry. I think
absolutely.
personal
No,
preference.
I agree. You found it works great for you, and obviously we're super happy about that. But I can't really go out. When we first started marketing them, there was kind of a pushback from the silicone cup manufacturers against us because it was kind of a new material. And I don't want to be in that position where I would talk badly about silicone cups because I feel like it is a personal decision. And if you find something that works for you, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for going into that on, just some of the differences between silicone and TPE. So, and yes, thank you for also mentioning how long can you wear a cup? I think this is relevant both during the daytime and then also during the night.
Yes. So that kind of goes back to our little backstory of how small our company is. Everybody's involved in everything. I was involved in the FDA approval of the cup, clearance of the cup. And so it's not like big companies where the marketing department is completely separate from the people that are worrying about conforming to requirements.
Mhm.
And I often see that when I see ads for other people's menstrual cups, where our marketing is probably very much to regulations or what the newest studies show, because we can't let go of it in a way because we know about it, versus
Yeah.
bigger companies that have a separate marketing department that can just like promise so much and not worry about, oh, this could be a better option, even so it doesn't sound as good marketing wise. Because honestly, there's not huge differences between the cups. What one cup manufacturer claims about their cup would pretty much also apply to all the other cups. And that is true for how long you can wear it, as well as how long you can keep a cup. And I would love to talk about that next, because that's another
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to talk about. So we have moved over after this study in 2018, where the concern was bacterial growth. We switched from the regular recommendation of 12 hours down to 8 to 10 hours, just because it is true. It really is true that the longer it's exposed and not clean, the more bacterial growth there will be. And even so, the possibility of an infection is like so tiny. If we can give advice that keeps people safer, then I think that's what we would like to do. And if the study is peer reviewed, it's a legit study, says that switching or at least cleaning your cup more often is better for you, even if it doesn't sound as good in our marketing. When everybody else says 12 hours, we say 8 to 10 hours. If it makes our customers safer, then that's what I want to go with. Obviously, our cups don't accumulate bacteria faster than other cups. In fact, because it's TBE, staff actually likes it less than silicone cups. But we feel if the science points towards this is a better solution, then that's how we're going to market it, and that's how we're going to label it.
Okay. And as far as how often to empty, so you're saying wear it 8 hours before either sanitizing it or swapping to a new cup, 8 to 10 hours.
That's the maximum.
Okay.
Now, if you fall asleep and you wake up the next day, you don't need to go to a hospital. Take the cup out, clean it really good. It's the same with the other manufacturers. They are saying for up to 12 hours, but I think a lot of people hear 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and think
Yeah.
it needs to go that far. And if somebody has a very heavy flow, it may never go that far.
Yeah.
I know I'm now in perimenopause, and some periods can be pretty hefty. So I may not make it to 10 hours. I may have to definitely empty it sooner. So that is a maximum amount of hours before it would be good to clean it.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit about what cleaning looks like?
Yes. And again, you may be on the go. You may not have the opportunity to do the perfect cleaning. When we got our clearance, we actually had to send the cups to an independent lab and had it tested what is adequate cleaning. So when we give these instructions, they're based on this, it's called a cleaning validation, with an approved lab. And so you want to rinse it under cold water. Cold water also prevents staining, because you don't want to set the stain. The hemoglobin in blood can stain your cup. So cold water first, a little bit of detergent. In that study, we actually used a product that's easily available in all of the grocery stores all over the US. We did not market a special MeLuna wash at that time, because it seemed easier to use a product that everybody can just buy at the grocery store, rather than have people run out of our special MeLuna wash and then wonder what they can use. in retrospect, having a cute MeLuna wash would probably have given us more sales. So yes, I'm not going to mention the product, but you can see it in your pamphlet that comes with the cup, and you can see it on our website. That's the product that we tested it with at that lab. So rub it, really not just like drizzle it over it and then wash it off under the faucet. Really rub it to where it gets clean. Every MeLuna also comes with little tiny brushes for the air holes, because the air holes are kind of small and things can get rubbed in there. So do use them. Always clean the cup before disinfecting it, because again, the heat of boiling it will set your stains.
Yeah.
You're not gonna boil the stains out. Clean it first, then disinfect it. The recommendation is to clean it throughout your cycle, just water and a mild detergent. And then before and after your period, actually disinfect it.
Okay.
So cleaning would remove debris and liquids and things like that. Disinfection actually kills off bacteria and the like.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And so you mentioned boiling for disinfection. And then what are the recommended boiling times? And here we can also talk about MeLuna's like the microwavable disinfectant cup, if you'd like.
Yes. So you want the water to be boiling for at least 3 minutes.
Okay.
A lot of times if you do go ahead.
With the cup in it for that
Yes,
3 minutes?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that means if I put it in the microwave, I set it on 5.
Okay.
Just because it will take a while to get that temperature. So the recommendations are 3 to 5, but I would expect at least 3 minutes of it to be actively boiling.
Okay.
Rather than turn it on for 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. There was something else you mentioned that we were going to talk about. The lifespan. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So that is another FDA related thing.
Okay.
Because before MeLuna got the FDA clearance, we actually had the same advertising as a lot of other cups in Europe, which is like up to 10 years. Now, if you look at our box, it will say 3 years. And that probably sounds a little bit shocking as, wow, that's not very long. And the way this came about is, again, to make a claim under FDA regulations, you have to prove that this claim is true. I can't just write advertising on a cup box or labeling. So we sent off the cups and to the lab to have it tested how long the cup would remain in the exact same state as it was when it is new. And we did a 3-year cleaning validation. That does not mean it actually lasted 3 years. It just simulated wear and cleaning and disinfection equivalent to 3 years. Now, these tests are expensive, especially for a small company like ours. So the reason why we went with 3 years is that we felt it would be an adequate amount of time to put on the box. It also limited how much our costs rose with doing all that testing. And so at the end of the 3-year testing, the cup was still perfectly fine. And with more investment in money, we could have tested the cups for a much longer period. And it very, very likely would have also been fine. But because we ended the study, the validation with the lab after 3 years, mostly due to cost factors, that's what we can put on the box. We cannot put something on the box that we didn't actually test.
Right. Yeah. 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 I appreciate how much you're pulling FDA all of the FDA regulations into this conversation, because this is just like with skincare as well, which Rain Organica is into. So yeah, it's really nice to, raise the awareness around what can and can't go on a label and go on a box. So thank you for doing that.
I so appreciate you giving me this opportunity, because I sometimes feel like we're putting ourselves at a disadvantage by following these regulations so closely,
Yeah,
because it does affect our marketing. If people look at cups and they see, oh, well, this cup lasts 10 years and this cup says it only lasts 3 years, they may not understand that this is based on testing costs, not on actual lifespan of the cup.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think supporting for me, I'm always going to support the smaller business, especially when they put, you've obviously put so much thought and so much care into how you're marketing, and just being very transparent with your clients as well, and your customers as well. So that's very much appreciated, at least for this customer. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
As we start to wrap up, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that we should talk about when it comes to menstrual cups?
I think specifically to our website, I wish customers, when they get frustrated or have questions, would reach out to us. You can reach out to us via email or live chat. It's a small business, so sometimes I'm taking the kids to soccer or something. So if you're texting me on a Saturday, it may take a while to get a response. But if you're frustrated with your cup, please give us an opportunity to help you enjoy your cup better. Don't.
Okay.
I think that's the thing I find most disappointing. If I see a review that says, "I got this cup, I hated it, I threw it away," where it's like, I wish you would have given me an opportunity to try and help you, because small things often can make a huge difference. That's with insertion, that's with removal, or if all of that doesn't make a difference, we have a policy where if your first MeLuna, because they do come in so many sizes and versions, your first MeLuna isn't perfect, you can get 40% off your second MeLuna. So if you feel like you do want to go a little bit bigger, you don't need to send the old one back. But you can try another MeLuna for 40% off, and maybe consult with us and troubleshoot, and don't give up. Don't give up just because the first impression makes it feel like it's difficult to use.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned the consult earlier as well. Is this so like a sizing consult? And is that via email and the live chat? Like that's how it's offered?
Yes, we have different. It's actually a everything consult. So chat
Okay.
with us. We have 2 chat consultants. Chat with us for anything. If you have questions about cleaning, you can check with us. Questions about selection of the cups, even questions about anything else, because we also have period underwear and cloth pads. We have a lot of different products. If you're unsure, chat with us and give us an opportunity to find something that's awesome for you.
Okay. Karin, how can people find you?
Our website is MeLuna-USA.com.
Okay.
And our live chat is on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. But of course, if you get there outside of that time, it gives you an opportunity to just leave your email address, and then we'll get back to you via email. But we try to be available, and like you hear, it's usually just straightforward, best effort kind of advice. It's not marketing-y, spammy sort of, we're trying to get your email or anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you so much for inviting me.